ADR. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar, 1 o'clock in Praia. Good afternoon and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Doctors Without Borders suspends its activities in Burkina Faso due to escalating insecurity. Senegal's President Diomaye Faye launches public transport debate amid increasing road accidents across the country.
As
you know, accidents have become recurrent in the country in recent years. But if we look closely, there is a responsibility.
In Ghana, NPP parliamentarians walk out of session as the NDC MPs take over majority side of parliament. And students at the Gambia's university lament increasing ordeals with transportation.
Sometimes you go to the picking point only to realize that though the buses will pass, but they'll pass because they are full. They cannot pick students anymore. And sometimes you come in 30 minutes late and some lecturers will say they will not allow you in because you are late.
Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is Augustine Coley with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining us and welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone. We begin right here in Senegal as President Bassirou Diomaye Faye emphasizes the need for reforms to enhance road safety and modernize the country's transport sector. President Faye made the statement Monday in Jamiajo at the commencement of a 5-day General Assembly of Public Transport. Stakeholders at the public event are holding discussions on building a sustainable and innovative transport system across road, rail, and air subsectors. In his address, the Senegalese president said, while road accidents are not inevitable, more must be done to curb them. He stated the importance of road safety and regulation of the sector, which according to him are two priorities of his government. Here is an excerpt of President Diomaye Faye's speech.
lii di accident bari na lool ci dëkk bi waaye buñ ko xoolee ba ca biir li ci ëpp.
As you know, accidents have become recurrent in the country in recent years. But if we look closely, there is a responsibility. The government, no matter how much it wants to secure citizens in the end, it will not take responsibility from the driver as well as the passengers who paid their money to be taken to their destination. But not only that, there is also the responsibility of the police who must ensure compliance with the highway code. So, we are all responsible. We cannot say every time the accidents are the divine will. It was not God who created cars for us, much less our trains.
Senegalese President Bassirou Diomaye Faye. Still on transport-related matters, students at the University of the Gambia are facing significant transportation difficulties due to a shortage of buses serving the Faraba campus, located approximately 70 kilometers east of Banjul. Each day, hundreds of students struggle to reach their classes on time, often relying on a limited number of buses that frequently run behind schedule. Our Banjul correspondent Sankule Janko tells us more in this report.
The situation is exacerbated during peak hours, leading to overcrowding and extended wait times. This unpredictability affects not only the academic performance, but also their overall well-being. Ibrahim Asise is one such student.
You have to wait for a while, and sometimes you have to maybe quit your lecture for you to get a seat, to come out maybe for 30 minutes before the bus schedule, to come out and stand under the scorching sun. Perhaps that will help you to get a seat. I have series of late coming, sometimes 30 minutes or more. Like today I was late. Because of the transport, most of the buses coming up were full. So we have to wait for one that is at least going to accommodate us. The number of people coming to Faraba is way more than the number of buses we have.
Omar Faye is another student who is frustrated with the transportation system of the University of the Gambia.
Sometimes you go to the picking point only to realize that though the buses will pass, but they'll pass because they are full. They cannot pick students anymore. It happens. And sometimes you come in 30 minutes late and some lecturers will say they don't allow you in because you are late. The only problem is the buses. If the government can, add the number of buses, that will go a long way in solving the problem.
The university administration has acknowledged these issues. In fact, it recently added a few more buses to the previous buses provided. However, the demand for buses exceeds the supply, leading to consequences for students. It's been almost 2 years since the Higher Education, Research, Science and Technology moved university education to Faraba campus. The authorities have, however, not fully addressed the transportation crisis as students continue to hustle for buses to and from university daily. For the Newslink West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sankula Janko reporting from Banjul.
Away from Banjul, the Liberian Labour Ministry has suspended work permits for unskilled expatriates in order to prioritize local employment opportunities for Liberian job seekers. The announcement follows Minister Cooper Krat's recent tour of several foreign-owned companies in Nimba County, including Asilomitar and Afcons in the northern region of the country. During this visit, the Labour Minister received numerous complaints from local workers about the excessive number of unskilled expatriates filling roles that Liberians are qualified to occupy. Grace Joshua in Monrovia completes this report.
The suspension comes to light following a recent call by Moserado County Senator Abraham Darius DeLon to review the insurance of work permits to foreign workers. It can be recalled that Senator DeLon, during the opening of the Liberian Senate, urged his colleagues to review the process of issuing work permits to aliens and foreigners, while raising concern that foreign workers are taking jobs that could be fulfilled by Liberians. Senator DeLon, known for his vocal role on governance issues, referring to Liberia law on work permits, which state in our court issued to foreigners for jobs that Liberians both in and out of Liberia are not qualified or interested in doing. It should be for a year, and a foreigner occupying that position should train a Liberian to do the work. End of court.
We have to review the issuance of work permit. The issuance of work permit to aliens and foreigners annually is depriving thousands of public and private sector jobs to Liberians.
Upon this request, Labour Minister Councillor Cooper Kra has declared that the ministry will no longer grant work permit to unskilled foreign labourers preliminarily to the expiration of the current permit. Minister Kra emphasized the government commitment to ensuring that Liberians have first preference for jobs, stating in a quote, "We cannot continue to allow our foreign investment partners to hire unskilled expatriates for jobs that Liberians can perform." End of quote. He urged affected companies to replace unskilled expatriates with qualified Liberians. Additionally, Minister Kra requested companies to submit detailed employees' roster and salary information for review, aimed at addressing disparities between locals and expatriates. He also addressed various issues raised by local workers, including poor working conditions and delay in salary payment. For West Africa Democracy Radio, I'm Grace Joshua in Monrovia.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
Let's now take you to the Sahel region, where the humanitarian medical organization Doctors Without Borders has suspended its activities in Burkina Faso, citing concerns of insecurity, particularly in Djibo province. The international NGO, also known for the French acronym Médecins Sans Frontières (MSF), explained that the increase in frequency of attacks by jihadist groups on health centers, water distribution points, and their own premises prompted this decision. Oge Obierika completes the story.
In a statement issued on Monday, October 21, 2024, MSF highlighted a tragic incident from last September in which a child was killed by a stray bullet near a water distribution point. Musa Usman, who leads MSF's programs in West and Central Africa, noted on X that the security situation in Burkina Faso is deteriorating, complicating their effort, particularly in rural areas. He said the NGO feels unsupported by the Burkinabe authorities amid these challenges. In November 2023 and again in July 2024, MSF offices, Ministry of Health supported medical facilities and water distribution sites in Jibo faced repeated gunfire attacks. As a result, the Humanitarian Medical Organization is calling for the protection of healthcare facilities, displaced individuals, and humanitarian missions. Jibo, the capital of Senegal province, has seen a significant increase in population due to an influx of internally displaced persons, rising from 60,000 to over 200,000 residents in just 5 years, according to Armed Conflict Location and Event data. For over 2 years, the city has been under siege by jihadist groups that carry out regular incursions.
Oge Oberika reporting there. In Niger, 9 members of a notorious gang have been arrested in the capital, Niamey. The arrest by the Niger Judicial Police Directorate has dealt a severe blow to the gang of criminals who were spreading terror in Niamey. Those arrested, aged 25 to 35, were picked up earlier this month, October, for their involvements in a series of violent robberies, mainly targeting women. According to reports, the victims had their mobile phones, handbags, and other valuables snatched by the criminals, who often surprisingly carried out the attack. These attacks, filmed by surveillance cameras and widely disseminated on social media networks, had sparked strong emotions and a wave of indignation among the population in Niger. We now head to Ghana, where MPs of the New Patriotic Party, NPP, walked out of Parliament this Tuesday as the National Democratic Congress, NDC, have assumed their new role as majority sitting on the right side of the Speaker. Meanwhile, the minority side of the chamber remains empty. The NDC MPs say they will only relocate if the Speaker asks them to move. The confusion began on October 17 when Speaker Abin Bagbane declared 4 parliamentary seats vacant, causing the NDC to claim a majority with 136 seats to the MPP's 135. However, the Supreme Court halted this decision the following day, restoring the previous balance. Despite this, both sides still claim majority status. Still in Ghana, environmental advocates are raising alarms over the destruction of vegetation and, more critically, water bodies due to illegal gold mining, locally known as galamsey. They describe the situation as an environmental genocide. The recent surge in gold prices has intensified illegal mining activities, leading to further environmental degradation in Ghana. Christopher Aticho provides more details in this report.
Ghanaian environmental defenders emphasize the severe impact of illegal gold mining on the country's forest. They note that densely wooded areas are the most affected by illegal mining sites, which not only devastate vegetation but also agricultural lands. Water bodies are increasingly polluted, with the Pra River, one of the largest in the country, being contaminated by thick yellowish residues from illegal mining sites. This pollution threatens the river's fish resources. Other rivers are reportedly poisoned by mercury residues used in gold extraction. According to Ghanaian ecologists, many rivers and lakes are becoming unsuitable for consumption and other uses. Beyond agriculture and fishing, the survival of communities near illegal mining zones is at risk. Out of Ghana's 16 regions, 7 are affected by illegal mining activities. According to the head of the country's Forestry Commission, in September, the Forestry Commission launched an awareness campaign against illegal gold mining. Civil society-led protests against illegal mining took place in Accra a few weeks ago, resulting in several arrests following police repression.
Christopher Aticho with that report. The special representative of the UN Secretary General for West Africa and the Sahel has concluded his visit to Sierra Leone. The head of UNOWAS engaged with various local stakeholders to discuss strengthening the country's peace and stability. More details with Imo Edit.
In Freetown, Leonardo Santos Simao participated in several meetings focused on peace and security. He emphasized the importance of ensuring meaningful participation of women and youth in peace building and development processes. He urged Sierra Leone to leverage its experience from presiding over the UN Security Council last August to ensure lasting stability and peace. Leonardo Santos Simao also took part in a high-level joint mission by ECOWAS, UNOWAS, and the African Union to monitor the National Unity Agreement. The mission assessed the progress made in implementing the agreement and committed to promoting continued effort towards peace.
Imo added with that report. You are listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Here is a reminder of the top stories. Doctors Without Borders suspends its activities in Burkina Faso due to escalating insecurity. Senegal's President Diomaye Faye launches public transport debate amid increasing road accidents across the country. In Ghana, NPP parliamentarians walk out of session as the NDC MPs take over majority side of parliament. Still ahead in the news, Nigerian army warns against calls for military takeover, denies Chief of Army Staff death. We also have the press review, guest interview, and the sports news. Please stay with us.
You are listening to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal.
Many thanks for being with us. As a reminder, we're streaming live on YouTube at WADR and on Facebook, WADR English Service. Now, the Nigerian Army has dismissed media reports suggesting that there is a leadership vacuum following the absence of the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Toured Lagbaja. It has also issued a warning to those calling for a military coup, describing it as a reasonable offense under the law. The clarification over the Chief of Army Staff comes in a statement signed by the Director Defense Information, Brigadier General Tokol Guso, on Monday after a video displayed to some people calling for a military takeover went viral. It also clarified that there was never an appointment of an acting Chief of Army Staff to replace Colonel Lagbaja, whom it said is on medical leave. Meanwhile, as tensions between farmers and herders in Plateau State, north-central Nigeria escalates, Minister of Defense Mohammed Badaru has urged both groups to work towards peaceful coexistence. Usman Umar reports.
The defense minister who mediated the peace talks said the meeting became necessary to halt the needless attacks and counterattacks that have claimed lives and to begin a process towards peaceful coexistence.
You have seen all the major stakeholders, religious leaders, the Hardos, the Fulani leaders, and the Hausa leaders. Everybody is here, and we spoke frankly. There are recommendations that are being sent to the state, there are recommendations that the federal government will look into.
General Officer Commanding 3 Division Nigerian Army, Major General Abdulsalami Abubakar, whose division is in charge of Plateau and other states, said the minister's visit to the state was timely.
This meeting will also afford the Honorable Minister of Defense another unique opportunity to appraise both the kinetic and non-kinetic efforts which we have employed towards protecting the lives and property of the citizenry.
Some stakeholders from the warring communities also shared their thoughts.
One of the major things we noticed is just an issue of understanding. One, between all the parties involved, and then secondly, trying to get people to give or accept some concessions in order for us to have, genuine peace within the state.
By the discussion today, it has proven that by coming together, we will achieve the desired goal.
Farmer-herder clashes in Plateau State, Nigeria, have been a persistent issue, resulting in significant displacement and loss of lives. In August 2021, a violent conflict broke out in Bassa local government area, displacing around 15,000 people and causing 38 casualties. Recent clashes that have also claimed thousands of lives and displaced millions were sparked by disputes over land and resources between farming communities and nomadic herders. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, Usman Umar reporting from Abuja.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Let's now rejoin Grace Joshua in the Liberian capital Monrovia for a review of the local dailies.
We begin this edition with the front page African newspaper. tracing the bribery source. This story reads, the Liberia Anti-Corruption Commission, LACC, has been made aware of serious allegations regarding the involvement of certain members of the House of Representatives in the act of bribery. From the Heritage newspaper, national embarrassment, Speaker Kofa described removal saga and called for negotiation. Within less than 1 hour upon his arrival at his Capitol Hill office in Battle Hall, Speaker Jonathan Fonati Kofa arranged a media engagement which he used to call for negotiation amongst members of the House of Representatives over his removal saga. Former Lofa Senator Kubi died at age 67. Finance Minister Gafuan departed for Washington, D.C. Stories making headlines in the New Republic newspaper. Liberia Water and Sewer warned LACC investigate U.S. $750,000 bribery allegation. Women decry drugs addiction at Woodham Outreach Initiative. The issue of drugs addiction in Liberia society remains one of the major issues facing the country. When people are gathered to talk about things that are affecting the Liberian society, the issue of drugs becomes one of the main talking points. President Bwaka and Arsenal Meta Executive Chairman strengthening economic ties and youth development. This story says Kemper-based political party wants ban lifted on student politics. We now move to the Daily Observer newspaper. On the front page of the Daily Observer newspaper, alleged shady deals haunts Kofa. Experts discuss Liberia path to accountability. The Association of Liberia Journalists in the America, ALJA, concluded a 2024 National Convention in Philadelphia yesterday after 4 days of discussion focusing on Liberia's future. That is how we conclude today's edition of the Press Review. I'm Grace Joshua from Monroe.
Grace Joshua there. Thank you for the Press Review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, the guest segment this afternoon takes us back to Ghana's 8th Parliament, where latest development indicate that the new Patriotic Party NPP walked out of Parliament as the National Democratic Congress NDC assumed their new role as majority, sitting on the right side of the Speaker. Meanwhile, the minority side of the chamber remains empty. Our guest is Dr. Asa Asante, a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, who speaks about the drama in Parliament, which needs to maintain its high democratic credentials ahead of the December polls.
I don't think this country is interested in any showdown. No, we have come a long way in terms of our democratic development. So this is not the time to, wreck the boats. Having said this, it is also important to state on record that the development as it happened, even though this is new, there are, instances where Parliament had, had certain challenges like that. But they use their good officers as well as consensus building to arrive at decisions that really bode well for the country. So I am quite sure that today, at the end of the day, we'll have something positive and all that. But all will depend on the Speaker. As soon as he comes in and what he has for the nation, he will deliver, and then we'll take it from there. But I don't expect any showdown in terms of fisticuffs, in terms of violence, in terms of anything. What I expect is that at the end of the day, cool heads will prevail and something concrete would have been arrived at.
But Doug, in all of these, it looks like the bragging right for majority status in Parliament seems to be a big deal to political parties. We want to find out, how does political right for majority status impact Ghana's pending elections, December elections?
Election has its psychological, sociological, and political consequence and the rest of them. But one of the things that you can see that this happening in Parliament, what it bodes for the country, and for that matter, let me limit it to the NDC, is that the leadership position, both sides, are important in the sense that let's take the majority. Parliament has not come to an end of its tenure, all right, about a few days to go. So there are bills that are of importance to government want to push through. So if now there are crises, then obviously this will not get, it will not be done. If you go beyond this, there are also issues of, in the holding leadership positions. It comes with a lot of power that the minority, that is for purpose of this conversation, let me say the NDC will not want to sit down. All right, they want to have that, because once they become leaders, then now they are going to lead in the committees and all the rest to it. Remember, the standing orders of Parliament give them that power, that once the person, the party with large numbers of people will lead most of the committee and the rest of them.
In democratic processes or principles, there is the rule of law and respect for separations of powers and then checks and balances. One would ask, did the Supreme Court of...
That was Dr. Asa Asante, a political science lecturer at the University of Ghana, in conversation with Christopher Aticho. Here is Sankule Janko with sports.
Hello there, a warm welcome and thank you for joining us. The Confederation of African Football (CAF) has reinstated Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau into the WAFU Zone A on the 17th qualifying tournament in Chess, Senegal. The decision came after a second MRI test was conducted on the players that had failed the initial tests. Recall on Sunday, WAFU announced that Sierra Leone, Guinea-Bissau and Guinea would not take part in the tournament due to age cheating, according to the new rule outlined in Article 27.4 of the Under-17 Africa Cup of Nations regulations. However, on Monday evening, the West African Football Union, WAFU, and the CAF medical team reversed their decision after a satisfactory medical test confirmed Sierra Leone and Guinea-Bissau's eligibility to compete in this year's Under-17 AFCON qualifiers. The new rule states in Article 27.4, if after carrying out the eligibility test MRI for a participating team, one or more of its players are deemed eligible, the participating team will be disqualified. Sierra Leone has been requalified to participate, having met the necessary criteria after 2 of the 5 players in question were cleared. Additionally, Guinea-Bissau has also been reinstated and will compete in the WAFU Under-17 tournament in Senegal. In a statement dispatched by a continental body, Guinea remained disqualified as a result, so their number of failures to be higher than the required quota of 3. That's it for sports. It's back to you.
We've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Krista Mukidi and Maudo Ju for the technical assistance. Do interact with us via our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram at WADR News, and on Facebook, WADR English Service. I am Augustine Cully. Good afternoon.
And many